Awesome. Check 1, 2. Welcome everybody to Songwriters Speaks at the channel, presented by APRA Arts Centre Melbourne and Unified. My name is Elfresh the Lion. I'm going to be your host and MC for the 3 sessions that are happening here. This is the first of 3. Just to expose a bit of background on myself as to why I'm here and why I'd be on a panel with other songwriters. I'm a songwriter myself, hip-hop artist. I've been performing, writing, recording for the past 12 years, I suppose, and yeah, just been getting around the country quite a bit recently, which has been great. And so, yeah, I suppose that's brief enough. And to to my right, we have Remi and Sensible J, who are doing amazing things at the moment. It's been great to see them grow and rise. Both of them are masters of their craft in terms of MCing and production. Their album Raw Times Infinity has done really well.
Don't talk it up too much.
Well, I've got to let the people know who you are. There's people watching on YouTube might not know who you are. So Raw Times Infinity, their album has done really well, won numerous awards in recent times all across the country, and they're now ready to tackle the globe, really, with their music, which is great to see for Australian songwriters, artists and performers. So today is about songwriting, obviously. We have questions being sent to us via Twitter as well. And there's going to be an opportunity also if you have questions to ask questions. But otherwise, we're just going to hang in and really just pick each other's brains. I suppose to begin with, really basic question. How did you both get into songwriting and producing?
When I was a young, sensible kid. Like you can tell that there's hip-hop people on this panel because everyone holds the mics like this instead of the normal way down here. A friend's older brother gave me Public Enemy and an NWA dubbed tape, probably like a 6th dub because you can hear all the shh in the background. Tapes, if anyone's young, are those cassette things before free downloads and torrents. And the beats on those things, initially I just wasn't even listening to the rhymes and probably wasn't allowed to with the swearing, but straight away the beats like amazed me, and I just started learning drums, and so that was what I was playing along with in the headphones straight out of Compton. F the Police, all that stuff.
So when was the first time that you decided to give it a crack? What, I suppose that inspired you, though hearing those bits of music inspired you, but what made you, and do you remember that first moment of just, okay, now I'm going to lay down my first drum rhythm?
Yeah, definitely. We used to go to Central Station Records in the 90s. I'm dating myself now. And my best mate Mike at the time, he was also straight into hip hop, and he bought a sampler by a brand called Lux, Lux, and it had 8 seconds of sampling time. I think we were about 14 young dudes, and you couldn't edit anything that you sampled, so you had to hit the circle button when you wanted your loop to start and hit it at the end, and you have to nail it in time. So we'd sit there for 2-3 hours trying to get my dad's George Benson record to loop, and then put that on a tape, and then my tape deck had a mic, and I used to play my drums along to that stuff, and then dub that down, and because it was a dual deck, and then just keep going back and forth. So the quality gets crapper and crapper, but you can add more layers. So yeah, definitely I remember the first time.
Have you still got your first beat?
I do. It's in the garage somewhere. Got to dig it out.
Really? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Sick, I got to hear that.
Well, what about you, Rem? How did you first get into songwriting?
Both instances were because of idiot mates. The first one, I was at school, year 12, and all my friends were like, oh, yo, we want to make a rap song. I don't know why they wanted to do it, but like, we want to make a rap song. We should go away and write this stuff down. So I was like, yeah, it's sick. And I remember just being at home and writing this rap. It will not exist anymore. It was written down somewhere. When I wrote it, I really enjoyed writing it, and then I took it to them and I rapped it because none of them had actually taken it seriously, and then I rapped it to them. And they told me it was too good for their tape. They didn't want it to sound good. They wanted it to sound shit. So, which I guess is a compliment as well. But I was like, all right. So I just left it, and that was the end of that. But I do remember
Some young player hating right now.
yeah, I know, man. Like straight off the bat. Then I remember really enjoying it, but then I just kind of left it and never really seemed like the thing to do. And then I went to uni, and one of my friends just in a lecture dared me to rap, and he's like, "I bet you can't." I was like, "Yeah, I can." And then I went home and I rapped. I like wrote a couple joints, and I took him to him, and he was like, "Yo, this is all right," and it wasn't all right. It was really bad, but just from that, the creation, like the actual, like being able to sit down and have just your ideas and put it down, and just loving music as well, and being able to just be a part of it, because I wasn't really talented enough to do any other kind of, like any like play, guitar or anything like that, but it was still being a part of it. So just from there, went on and then met this cat.
What was your name back then?
Kid Ilf. Says Kid I Like to Fuck. That was it. That was my name. I changed that to Remi because I was obviously really bad at making rap names, so I just went with my government name.
Oh, the name your parents gave you.
Adarami. Adarami is my full name.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
Adarami.
What was the first recording studio session like?
That's two?
No, as in before you guys met.
First.
So the first time you were in a recording studio, can you like explain what the studio was like, and then how you felt being in that space?
Testing the memory. How legit must it look for a studio? It was a guy's garage.
Well, let's say the first recording.
It was sound deadened garage. He had a 16-track board. It was like a 60-year-old Greek man, and this was like a alternative band that I was in. I'm going to say we sounded a little bit like Linkin Park before Linkin Park. He had the electronics and rock down-tuned guitars. His name was Stan, the older guy, and we practiced for weeks before that, knowing we had to pay, I think it was $450 for 2 days in there. And so I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what I was doing on the drums. Full sweats, nervous, having to play along with the click to getting all the guitarist delay pedals in time. But yeah, it was a lot of, when you're young, you sweat those things and you rehearse your ass off so you do not waste time. Yeah.
How about you, Rem?
It'd be at your house, I think.
I don't know if that's a proper studio.
Nah, man, that's legit. We recorded all our stuff there. I've got mad respect for Huntingdale Studios. The first time I actually recorded with Jay, I remember the beat, everything, and went in there. And it was funny because to me back then, it still is actually though, because I was recording at the time, I was recording straight into my laptop. Like I didn't have a microphone or anything. I was just recording straight into my laptop, like just leaning straight over it and rapping into it. And my parents' iMac, which is like, those big ass iMacs. I was like rapping around the corner to get to the microphone in the back in the study next to my dad. So when I went around to Jay's house, and we record all our stuff like this, and it's a, what mic is it?
It's a Rode Classic 2.
So it's a Rode Classic 2 mic with soundproofing around it, like 3 little soundproofing things, and a sleeping bag over the top. But to me, that was, and it still is, the most legit studio to ever exist. So we went in there, and I remember rapping and doing my raps, and Jay was saying to me, like, you got, like, it sounds good, but you need to make it later on the beat, because it's always got to be behind the beat a little bit to make it flow out. And that, to me, like, my brain, I didn't really know how, like, what he meant, you know what I mean? Like, because I've never done, I used to play keys and cello, but I never played anything that had real rhythm to it, you know? So I can remember just sitting at home and like literally spending hours and hours on tiny portions of verses, just trying to make them sit slightly behind the beat, and I think we got there.
I remember the first time I went to Sing Sing. When you go to a legit studio, that's when you sweat. It makes you more nervous, and you don't, for me, because I'm not used to that environment, and that's nerves. You've been there, you know what it's like.
Well, that brings up a good question about studio.
That's Kanye just there for anybody who can't see.
That brings up a good question about studio environments and how much of a role that plays in the recording process, and suppose just feeling comfortable. And you mentioned that, and you mentioned as well that while it may not seem legit, that being in that space where you're comfortable, whether it's, you know, Jay's studio in, you know, in his home or the garage, you know, when you were starting out, like that's where the magic happens because you're comfortable. Can you guys explain a bit about what you try to, you know, create in the studio space in terms of vibe and setup and whether that's important to you or not?
It's super important to us. I think subconsciously our ritual is literally I come in, we talk a lot of shit for a few hours, eat some food or whatever, and just so we're completely relaxed. I might watch TV, might just talk about whatever, talk about music, talk about who's been screwing up, like like you know, whatever. And then we'll just go in the studio and do whatever we've got set up, or Jay will have an idea about a beat. He's like, yo, I was doing this, or I was thinking that, or whatever, and it's super organic, not on purpose. It's just how we operate. Like we can't, you know, for us there's no like this, you know, time because we don't want to waste time, but we also want to enjoy it because I think that's the key, you know, if you're having fun.
And because it's a bedroom, it's cozy, so there's no officialness about it at all. Like my drums are facing into my closet with the clothes there. There's just random music people posters, Led Zeppelin, Bob Marley, Dilla. Yeah, that's just very casual and low key, like cool. Being in your own bedroom.
Yeah. Let's go into Raw Times Infinity, and I kind of want to approach the next series of questions with a project focus in mind, because I think that's a good approach to have in mind when you're piecing together a project, and it kind of gives context to some of the songs that you guys have worked on as well. But how was that project? How was that project birthed? Where did that start? And what was the first song that came out, which ended up being on the record, that you guys created together?
Living. Yeah, Living was done the demo was done 2 years before the album came out. The album came out June last year, so Living might have been 2011. Did the beat maybe 2010, and then had an idea for the hook. And then, Rem did a demo on that, and then we just worked it up, rewrote it, messed with stuff. So
what's the process? Do you come up with the music separate to Rem and you know, like if we use Living as an example, it's a separate to Rem. You had this beat sitting around and you played it for him, you dug it, and then you kind of worked on it together and got it to a point. Is that what the process is normally like?
Most of the time, but some other times it might just be a drum beat and Rem will write to that, and then because I like to add stuff around what a vocalist has put on something, what emotion comes out from their voice or whatever they've written about.
Jay's work ethic is insane, to the point where he's just got beats and beats and beats and beats at home. So from the get-go, I've always had a lot of his stuff to listen to and work through and stuff. But more recently, I've been writing away from that and then kind of then taking it to the music, just because I want to write and say something now, and a lot of the times I get overexcited when I hear Jay's beats, and I just like want to just rap, and that's it. So like whatever comes out is going to be that, and sometimes that's 100% necessary, but sometimes you really have to work to put the message into it. But Raw Times Infinity specifically, it was mostly Jay with the bones of beats, putting it through there. We had a few topics that we wanted to talk about, but it wasn't really it wasn't set out. Like the record we're working on at the moment, we've already picked all the topics, the beats are almost all there, and then it just comes down to me going through and writing to those topics and whichever one's going to sit there. But Raw Times Infinity was just like that there, and you know, because it wasn't a concept album or anything like that. It's just that the whole production ended up being quite raw. We wrote down a few names for what the album was going to be, and then we just put it together. So the whole process was very raw. That's normally the hardest part, as you probably know, is coming up with a title for your whole thing that you want to do. And for us, as soon as you get the title, the rest of it's kind of a lot simpler then. If you've got your theme for the record, and you know, this beat, if a beat's not really an emotional sounding beat, just rap whatever on that, just make it fly. And other ones that have some sort of heartstring pulling on it, like, you got to say something on that beat. Some motions.
So with the beats, can you kind of talk through your process then, as to, you know, how it generally starts, and then what the process is to get towards the finished song?
Just listening to records. Most of the time it's that, or if I'm at work or just chilling, not at home, and I'll come up with like a rhythm idea. I'll quickly turn the phone on, camera, and beatbox it to the camera. I might do the drums, and I'll do the bass line, and then go back. You know, if I need an idea, go through my phone and see, oh yeah, did that. Because once you do that, it's out of your brain. But the majority is just listening to old records and then either stealing a little section of it or trying to hide the fact that you've stolen a little section of it. And then, or it might just start with drums if I find some open drums on an old record, so the section where it's no other music except the drummer, chop them up, get some rhythm happening, and then either try and find an old sample already chopped up to fit, or start with maybe a bass guitar or some keys and make it totally original. There's like 3 different ways.
Yeah, cool. And then I suppose from there, Rem will, you might pass it on to Rem will, write to it, add to it, and then does it go back to you, and then you kind of build around that even further?
Yes, and my good friend Dutchy, he also helps with from about that process there. Once a lot of the bones are down, then he's a lot more, he can focus behind a computer for a long period of time and clean stuff up, take bits of the sounds, run it through his little effects. He's got a lot more patience than me. Like, he can sit there for 3 hours doing the icing on a track, which might be a delay on one thing from the sample, chopped up and arranged in the track. Like 3 hours it takes him. I don't have the patience for that.
Yeah, wow, cool. When I kind of do and try to draw inspiration from other songwriters, I just sit on YouTube and I watch like different interviews from some artists that I really like. And one of the things I was watching just the other day was Pharrell's interview with Oprah. And one of the things that he said, which is similar to what Kanye West has said in an interview before, is that when he hears music, he sees colors. And that then, inspires him to go out and then create what it is that he creates. What is it that inspires you guys to songwrite?
Just dope new music a lot of the time. I guess also just topics, like as in, stuff that you witness every day. It might even just be a moment that you might have just observed something and you can be like, that was rad, and then you figure out why that was rad. Or you can be like, that was messed up, and you figure out why that was messed up, and you flesh that out. And other times it's just because you picked up a new record and it's the most bumping thing you've ever heard. You're like, oh, I just want to make music, It could be movies, it could be anything really. It's just anything that's kind of, for me, mostly either visually stimulating or orally stimulating. But yeah, that's about it.
I think it's just rhythms with me. Since I was a kid, I was a bit of a weird kid. I used to count my steps in threes, so I knew if I started my walking with my left, that it was going to end. The 3 would end on my left. 1, 2, 3. 3s, 4s, and 5s. And then I was 3 or 4 years old, so I've always just heard rhythms and stuff. Like when I cross the road and the little traffic things, like going, I always start beatboxing. Always just hearing rhythms, and that's pretty much my inspiration.
Yeah, seeing music and everything.
I don't see colours though. What's the word for that?
Oprah said it.
That's
there
it, because Nerd's album was called Seeing Sounds.
Yeah.
That was his,
Yeah.
Talk about being in the shower and shit to get all the ladies all excited. That's what Pharrell's saying at the beginning. He's like, I was in the shower.
Of course he was.
Like, this is not for me, man.
Well, it's cool. I mean, just touching on a little bit about what both of you have said, I think in recent times I've also been reflecting about songwriting and trying to balance that in and amongst hectic everyday lifestyles, and whether it's work or whether it's traveling and touring and all that kind of stuff. And one thing that I've kind of noticed and have started to appreciate about music is that it is in and of itself a lifestyle, and songwriting becomes a lifestyle. Like, you hear it in everything from the traffic light to or you watching TV or watching a movie. How do you guys make that manage that balance to find time to then sit down and work on new material, particularly now that you guys are just about ready to launch and do stuff overseas, and you guys had a really hectic schedule last year with touring? How do you now manage that balance and find time to songwrite?
How honest do you want me to be?
As honest as possible.
I literally get depressed if I've just gone to work at my day job and I haven't done any music after that. So I'm like, I'll go to bed and I won't sleep properly. So I have to do something because then I know I'll sleep better. That's a wanky but truthful answer.
For me, I mean, Jay's had a lot more experience with the working side of things and balancing music and work. But for me personally, it's more when we first started doing music, like two of us, it was just so rad because it was like the first time I got to just express anything, do anything. Like, you know, you got someone who's making foundations for any song that you're making, and you just get to go in there and do whatever you want. You got that person supporting you, and for those first few years, it was just so rad because of that. Like, we weren't making money or any of that stuff. It was just about the music, and then things started to pop off last year, and we toured so much, and it was rad. It was really rad. It was awesome for experience, all that kind of stuff. But the whole time, I was just, there was like this thing in the back of my head. It was like, this is cool, but it's not why we did this stuff. Like the shows are rad and fans are awesome, but the reason that we do it is because we really, really love the music. And now this year, it's kind of become one of those things where you just got to do it. Like, you literally just got to do it. If you're not doing it, like Jay said, you go to bed and you're sweating. You're like, this is what I want to do, and I didn't do it at all today. What did I do today? What was important about today? Why didn't I do it? And if you've got an answer for it, if you had shows, cool. But if you don't have an answer for that, then it's really hard to sleep.
So now that you've speaking that you said that was the first time you really got to experience that tour live. Now that you've done that, does that change the songwriting process, or does it inspire the songwriting process in a different way? That now you've got to perform the songs that you guys created in a bedroom, in the studio, on stage. Do you now take that and keep that in the back of your mind as you're creating this new material? Does that change the process a little bit?
Not really for me. I don't feel like it, because we are very lucky because we have received admiration for the music that we have done, because it's just the music that we can do. We don't know how to do anything else. We don't know how to, we've never gone in there with a different mindset. We've always just gone in there with the same thing, which is like, we're just here to do what we want to do. And because it's the only thing that we can do, you know, it's not like in an arrogant way. We just don't know how to do anything else.
I suppose what I was trying to get at was, you perform the songs on stage, and there's elements of the songs that translate really well with live.
Oh yeah, no,
so
but definitely. But it's like, but then coming back full circle, it's just like that is like the pinnacle of, for me, is the pinnacle of being able to make music, where you can literally just go in there. So like subconsciously, anything that I picked out over however long, you know, like we were saying, like it's a lifestyle, so it just filters into your music and stuff like that. But it's not a conscious process. If it has, then I haven't really noticed it so far. But like, I hope it has, you know, because it's like, it is a rad thing. But I feel like it's always just been the same mentality, because that's the best mentality for me personally to go in doing.
You mean that you see a crowd knows lyrics to a song that might have been a single, and then you think, oh, I need to write a song with a big hook in that? Is that what you mean?
No, I think I kind of mean like, take for example, there's one of those tracks where you have that call and response bit that you guys do live, and you just put up a video recently on the Instagram and Facebook with it. So I mean, that's, for me, I feel like that's a part of the song that's was almost like it was made for live. You know,
just fluked it.
Exactly. That's like literally an interlude of our first record that was thrown together in about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's what happened, and it ended up being one of the, like you said, like, it literally is one of the highlights of our whole set, and it's ridiculous to us that it's done that.
Yeah,
I just like the Marlena Shaw. It's her song. Ghetto.
Oh, Ghetto,
Yeah. I just like that. I'm just gonna remake that beat at home.
Yeah.
It took 5 minutes. I had her track on in the headphones.
Yeah.
Played along to her track on the drums. Muted her track. Worked out the bass line, and that's pretty much the track there.
Yeah.
It was done that quick.
So now that you know that works well, I suppose the question was getting at, do you take moments like that and be like, okay, well, let's see if we can recreate a vibe that we can, and let's try and create a vibe in the studio that we know is going to translate well live?
I reckon if me and Rem are happy with the songs,
cool,
and if we're happy while we play them, we'll work out those sections where, I can pull the beat out there, and you can try and get the crowd to try and do that. Because I make a point to try not to change how much fun we have in the studio, because people always talk about this, is it sophomore jinx?
Yeah.
We've actually released 2 albums already past that. But technically, this will be our 3rd album. But
everybody else.
Empha, one of the guys sitting in the audience there, like, we just try and have fun when we make music, and don't want to start overthinking stuff. Like, what if the radio doesn't play this, or live? We need to have massive hooks so the crowd sing along. Just, as long as we're happy, hopefully that will be infectious.
And hopefully you're going to make it work. Like we made it, like I said, we made it 30-second interlude off our first record work. So hopefully something else will pop up, you know.
Totally.
We just started doing hip hop array and the stuff. People love that shit. And that only happened like 4 sets back, you know. So these things just organically happen. So instead of putting pressure on trying to find that, because that's when you freak out and that's when the inspiration just goes, you know. If anytime I'm stressed about music, I will not make good music. Like that's just simple as that. I can literally be doing the same thing for 12 hours, then go to Jay's house and do something that is totally unmusic related, and then write the whole song when I get home in 15 minutes. Like that's, because that's what inspiration is. And it's so irritating that it's like that. It's so irritating, but you know, that's what it is. And like I said, for us, the best thing is that we just go in and do us, and that's where all that inspiration lies, and those things pop up.
Yeah, well, let's talk about. I mean, you guys touch on it quite a bit, and I think one of the things that's really underrated in music in general is team, and the importance of having a good team on all levels. But in the context of songwriting, having a group of people around who you trust and you know, who you have a synergy and chemistry with. Can you guys talk about your working relationship, and I suppose how that's developed over time, and touch on some of those points?
I don't like Jay.
Thanks, bro.
I mean, he's my brother, man. Like he's my brother, and that's what it is. We fight like brothers. We hang out like brothers. We, you know, talk shit like brothers. We have the same interests like brothers. You know, it's like, you know, and I've got a little brother as well, so I know what that. And he's got an older brother, so we both know what that is. And you know, from my perspective, it's his family, and that's so integral, especially for me. I know I talk to so many solo artists that you know, are always like going through you know, doing music with different people and stuff like yourself, you know. And they always talk about how they're always overthinking stuff, and like, you know, they go away from stuff and come back and all that. And I definitely do that. There's no doubt. I'm like, you know, I'm not inhuman. That's just what we do. But having someone that I can then turn to that I trust 150%, and that person will either go, yep, or not. And I trust that it's so key. Like Raw Times Infinity probably still wouldn't be released if I didn't have someone like that on my side, you know.
I reckon what you were saying is the most important part of trying to make good music, is having a good vibe with the people you work with. Like in my own experience, as we were talking about before, just emailing people beats and doing that sort of back and forth, if you don't really know them well, for me, it hasn't come out with the best stuff. But if you know that person well and they live in another country per se, then cool, that can probably work. But if you got a vibe with someone, the music always comes out better in my few years.
I mean, it's a thing. It's one of those things that when I got to know you guys and got to hang out with you guys and come to the crib and check out the studio and then just kind of play around and record and see the songwriting process, it was a cool thing to witness and to see that chemistry that you guys have together, and Empha as well, him being there and hanging out. So, I mean, that was really special to kind of watch, because, you know, separate to my own team, you know, you always kind of, you know, I wonder how other people do it, you know, how do they do it? And then when you get there, you're like, wow, it's the same in in many respects, but it's different also in so many different ways. But you're like, cool, all right, well, what can I learn from this and what can I see from this? And yeah, the thing that was consistent was the chemistry that you guys have, and you know, you being able to lay something down, and then Jay be like, how about you try this, try that, and you're like, all right, cool, and Jay, how about you do it with a beat? And I mean, that's really, really special to kind of witness and see, and I think that kind of comes out obviously in the music. Let's go into, you're talking about you're working on new material, and one of the things you mentioned in that process was you kind of had topics in mind that you wanted to touch on. How much of that comes from personal experience?
100%. 100%. And that's whether it's through watching someone else go through that experience or going through it myself. That's 100%, because you got to talk about what you know, especially in hip hop. You know, you can't really do, like, you know, with a song you can kind of paint a vivid idea, but that can mean so many different things. And you can still do that in hip hop. As you know, you got 16, 24, 32 bars. You got to fill with context, and you know people could smell fake in even one line of that. So you have to be able to come through and make sure that 100% of that you know about it, you know, and you've studied it, and whether that's on Wikipedia or whether it's because you've just seen your homie go through some terrible things, or you've done, you know, whatever. It's got to be 100%.
Have you ever had started writing a song, gotten through maybe a verse or two, and then paused and been like, whoa, hold on, man, I don't think I would feel comfortable sharing this with people?
Yes, and then I talked to this guy, and this guy will almost 100% indefinitely be like, you should do it, because it's because anything that you feel uncomfortable doing is probably because you've written something that's so real that you don't know whether people are ready for it. And that's what my mom said this to me. My mom said, we wrote this song called Ode to Ignorance on our...
I was leading to that.
On our last record.
Good segue.
Yeah, on our last record. And she was the one to pull me up about it. And she goes, you know, you got to decide what kind of artist you want to be. You got to decide whether you want to be the one, you know, the fun-loving, happy, you know, get everybody to party kind of dude. They could potentially make, you know, a lot of money doing that kind of stuff, or do you want to go out being that person that said what is important and what people need to hear? You know, that's 100% it. And, you know, to me, I was pretty rhetorical. Like, you know, what can I say? I'm going to make heaps of money and talk about drugs and stuff.
Was that one of the most challenging songs that you've made to this point?
Easy to write. Real easy to write. Hard to perform the first time. And
it's interesting you say that, because when we were on tour last year, and I kind of picked this up at the Adelaide show, which I think was the first show that I joined you guys. Yeah. And you performed that song, and that's my favorite song of you guys.
Thanks.
And you did the chorus, and I was watching it, and I was like, I wonder if the people get it, because it's so in your face. And if you haven't heard it, I encourage you to really listen to it, and listen to the way that the chorus contrasts with the verses. But you guys performed it, and I would say it was mostly an Anglo audience, and the song in and of itself talks about racism and power dynamics and stuff like that. And there's that one line at the end of it, if you ain't white, male, Caucasian, you ain't shit. And when you said that, it was the whole, like, a lot of the crowd were like, yeah, like they'd get into it. And what was that feeling like on stage when you see that? And was that, because standing there, I'm like, I wonder if they get it. Was that kind of...
I don't think they would have got it then, because that was just after the album came out.
Yeah.
So unless you listened hard within 2 weeks of the album coming out, because the way it's written, it sounds like Remi's being mad racist himself. On yeah, if you've heard the song, the pre-chorus is "fuck foreigners."
Fuck foreigners, those Africans aren't worth shit. Fuck the origin, Aboriginals aren't worth shit. Fuck foreigners, Indian, Islander, Arabic, Asian. If you're not male and Caucasian, you ain't shit.
And that sounds mad racist, just like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
in context.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
But also, like, when we're doing that joint, that's like purging a demon from inside myself.
Yeah.
Like, I just go into
You
this.
could tell the second verse.
You just, man, you know, you go through some... a lot of people, anybody that's been through any sort of struggle, no matter what it is, if you are lucky enough like me to have been able to rap that problem out of you, and I know you have, you go into something else and you feel like you need to exert that energy and put it onto the people. And I think that happens every single time I do that song. I can't not go to that place because I feel it like in my chest. When I recorded it every time, man, I remember like mad deep. When recorded that song, went away from it for a very long time, just working on other joints on the album or touring, whatever. Came back, it was like, woke up in the morning, going to work, having a shower. I'm happy as shit. Like, I'm a happy dude, man. I was happy as have a shower, put that song on. Second verse came in, starts talking about my dad. I started crying like a bastard, like in the shower, and I had no other reason but like pure fury at what had happened to my dad and what had happened to people because of something that is totally visual and has nothing to do with a human being. So I think it's important to just, no matter when I do it, like with that song, I got to express my fury and my pain with that thing. Like that, I feel like we need to come together. I think it is 100% certain. And obviously because of the lyrics and because we're on a very surface-based community, it's going to go over people's heads. It's going to happen. But a lot of people that have heard that song and have listened to it have appreciated it for what it is. And I think that's important. You got to make sure it does hit somewhere.
Yeah, if it catches 1 or 2 people at the show out of 200 people, I'm wrapped. Like, awesome. You're listening.
And what's it like for you? So if you're you're sitting there in the studio, Rem's there about to lay this down. This is the first time you've heard the lyrics for it. You press record, you sit there, and he drops something like that second verse. What's the response?
Did you send it to me first?
I sent it to you first.
Yeah,
because that was the quickest.
You sent it to me first, but I was
Wreck
sitting.
my question, Rem. You should have sent it to him.
But that was the quickest response. The quickest response I think I ever got from a song was like, "Yo, that's sick."
You need to put that out there, because I know it's hard writing about your parents. They've gone through some stupid racism, and I know it would be tricky to get up there in front of a group of people and say all that stuff. So that's the most proud I've been of Rem. I'm like, got to put this down. We've got to deliver it right. I'm like analysing how to do it in a song. Like, you can't double track your vocals on it because it'll sound too fake. Yeah. With the motion, you got to just do the one take all the way through. No punch-ins. Just have a scotch and do it.
Yeah, this is exactly how it went down. You're like, all right, we're gonna do it. Just poured the scotch, one rock in it. He's like, all right,
yeah,
let's do this, man.
I like that you touched on that, because I think the part that sometimes gets overlooked with songwriting, particularly from an audience point of view or a fan's point of view, is you hear the song and you're like, yeah, it makes me feel like this. Wow, great. Like, this is awesome. But the hours that go into creating that song to extract that vibe fully, so that it can live in a space where it can be absorbed by people, can be quite intense and laborious. But it's great that you kind of touched on, I go, well, Rem said this, and then it was like, okay, no, this is what I kind of thought about, and to bring that vibe out. Yeah,
that's my job. I analyze stuff way too much.
Jay's a producer. Like, that's them. Like, I mean that to the nth degree. You know what I mean? Doesn't just make beats. He produces a song, because I think we're both in the same school of, we both appreciate what we do, each other does to their degree, and we want to make sure that whatever comes out of it is the best song that it can be from both of us and how we both feel about it. And when it comes to the vocals, Jay is always sitting there from an outside perspective, which is very, very important when you're making music, because you have to sit back and be able to listen to it with a global view. Like, how people going to view this? How is this going to be taken in? And sometimes I get mad butthurt about some of the stuff he says, but then I'll go home and I'll listen to it and I'll go, he's 100% right. You need someone doing that. And it's the same with him. If he's sitting down with me and he's playing a bass line and stuff, I've listened to that much of his music and I listened to that many of his influences, because we got basically the same. But no, you can do better than that. And he'll be like, yeah, all right. And then he'll go away and do it. And it will always come out and be like, all right, yeah, that's the one.
You could call me a producer or a control freak.
Same thing, man.
That's why they call it a control room, right?
Exactly, the control.
Word, totally. One thing that you touched on before you spoke about Ode to Ignorance was that conversation you had with your mother about purpose. And that's another thing that, listening back to the Pharrell interview was, he spoke about purpose, and he spoke about writing his first album and putting it out as a vocalist. It was, his first time being the spotlight as opposed to being a producer. And he said, in reflection, I felt like I wasted my first album because it was braggadocio. I was just bragging and talking about all this stuff. And in reflection, it was like I was trying to be like Jay-Z and, and Puffy, and I didn't realize what my purpose was. What do you feel your purpose is?
I just want to add, your mum, that's a cool ass mum. Yeah. To sit your son down and have that chat.
What?
Yeah.
My mum is straight up. Like, and it's awesome. Like, she doesn't have Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. She knows everything Jay and I are doing through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For real, I posted a photo we did with Nike the other day. Jay posted it 2 weeks beforehand. Showed mum. I already seen that. What? Come on now. I'm not trying to like show you some cool things, and you know. My purpose is to be true to myself and my team and the people that support us because of what we do. Because I make it a mission to try and talk to as many people that listen to our stuff as possible, because I appreciate those people more than they could ever believe, because we are nothing but the sum of our parts, and we could be playing to nobody, and we're still not playing to crazy amounts of people. But that's the thing, you know. I feel like we do something that is not the easiest to digest, and not on purpose, just what we do. And so if anybody can appreciate that, I want to make sure that we're, you know, being 100% real with them. And the only way we can be 100% real with them is by being 100% real with ourselves. And that's by spreading messages that need to be heard, spreading stuff about what's inside us and what we believe affects our community, whether our community is ready to hear it or not.
Yeah, that was when Rems first started coming around in 2010. Yeah, because Rem's like the funnest dude in the room. But after getting to know him for a couple of years, we'd sit and just have chats about everything. I'm like, all right, you need to get some of this stuff in your music instead of just being the party dude. Like, if you're willing to put it out there, you should do it, because there's more sides than most people who would know Rem would know. Because, yeah, you know, he walks in the room and you get the, yo!
Yeah, that was dope. What impact has music had on your lives as songwriters and as producers?
Girlfriends hate us, man.
When you're sitting at dinner and you're thinking about a snare sound that you've just done, that's not a good sign.
Your girlfriend is talking to you about how her day just was, and you are literally rapping in your head like 100 miles away. Like, yo, I just came up with this punchline. She's just
maybe
like,
we're just assholes though.
Yeah, maybe we're just assholes. Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's music since I was a kid's been. That's it. I don't know what else to do. Sounds wanky. Heaps of music people say it, but it's for me. It's the truth. Since I was young, and I love whole albums like Narsilmatic, Common, like Water for Chocolates. That's always our goal, is to make a whole album, even if it moves through a few different vibes. Try and connect it. Because my favorite albums are all pretty much back to back, every song, without maybe one or two skippers.
Do we have any questions from the land of Twitter heads?
Oh, but the internet is an evil
or from
place,
anyone
man.
in here? Yeah, we got one back here.
I can look this guy in the eyes. Let's ask this guy first.
You can ask your question, then I'll repeat it so that people who are streaming can hear it back.
So I guess once you've sort of, you've finished the album or the EP or the things that you're working on, how do you think about sort of promoting it and getting it out there? Like, is it something that crosses your mind, or you just put it in one spot and it just sort of flows from there? Or
So the question for the people listening at home was, once you finish a project, album, or an EP, how do you get it out there? How do you promote it? And does that play a role during the creation process?
Definitely not during the creation process, but there's a whole lot that goes into that. You don't want to.
What about before All Times Infinity? We
What?
were finishing EPs and one album called Regular People Shit that we had.
Just chucked it out.
As soon as it was mastered, the next morning it goes up on Bandcamp. There was no real thought about advertising it and all that. We were just trying to make music and put it up on Rem's Bandcamp, which has a lot of music on it.
Yeah, when you first start, that's definitely how you do it. Because there's not really any other way. I mean, how you gonna get anybody to listen to your music if you sit at home and they literally don't know who you are, and then you put like $20,000 into publicity and be like, well, who are you? They don't know, but you gotta, build it up. You gotta get it out. And we're lucky enough that we live in the internet age, and also very unlucky that we live in the internet age. So you can put up, you put up anything like that, and by the time it's in people's hands like that, it's kind of a bit of a slog. We went out, we spent couple grand, I think, all up on just burning CDs, mixtapes, albums, and just giving them out for free at shows. That was the easiest way.
That was all of our stuff until Raw Times Infinity.
Yeah.
We just pressed 100 up of the 2 EPs before that, and 100, no, not 100, 1,000.
It was a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was
maybe 500 or 1,000.
500, 1,000. Yeah.
And just every gig we played at, if someone came up and said, "Oh, that was really cool. Hey, want a CD?" It was literally trying to get the name out that way and through SoundCloud and all that. And then, do you want to take over from Raw?
And then just Raw Times Infinity. Because we didn't have management, we didn't have labels.
Management was us in the kitchen,
yeah, man.
discussing, "Hey, what do you want to do?"
It's pretty serious business, though, man. We had like a bell there. You like go ding, and we walk out and be like, "What's up, man? Welcome to House of Beige Management." But we didn't have any of that, so we were literally just taking punts and just trying to learn from our mistakes at every level. But then we were lucky enough to meet two gentlemen by the name of Rhett and Aiden McLaren, and they're good at planning. Hiring managers is really good because they can plan shit. We like as you probably know, if you're an artist, you can't plan shit, like because that's not what we're here for, man. We don't plan anything. We just make music and hopefully people listen to it. And then our good friends Rhett and Aiden were good enough to put publicity campaign into production, but you also need to be at a certain level to do that because it is a very expensive process. And when you're first coming up as an artist, money is not something that you have. When you're at our level, money is still not something that you have because you spend it on publicity.
And you've got to, if you're officially releasing stuff like on iTunes and getting it all pressed up, it's got to be done at least 8 weeks before your date. So we had to set a date in maybe March last year. We said, all right, let's go June 6th. So we had to have it finished by, I think, the first of April, first week of April.
Which is why most of the record was written in 2 weeks.
I think one of the things to touch on as well, and one of the traps I see a lot of young songwriters get into, or early songwriters get into, is how do I put it out? How do I do this? And what's the plan? And how can I get it out there? And I want to do this and that, and I want to get to this point. And it's like, yeah, cool, but what about the focusing of just making the music? And what's the motivation then? What drives you to want to make music? Is it to get to that point, or is it to just make the music that you want to make? I kind of feel like, as you were talking about that, it's almost like it kind of takes care of itself, and it kind of grew organically in that you guys made the music that you wanted to make, and then it was like, okay, well, we'll do this, we'll hand it out, and then it, management came into play, and it was like, okay, now we can think about planning and this and that, and it happened in such an organic kind of way. But it all comes back to making good music and music that you love.
And Jay's always had this motto, which is, I think, 100% essential for every songwriter, which is you don't want to skip steps. You want to make sure that you're covering every single step along the way, and that's just making sure, like, you're hustling and paying dues like everybody else. And then you will hopefully get to that point, and they can't have you carb food. You don't want to be, automatic, because if you rise too quick, you're probably going to fall too quick most of the time. So it's about just making sure that you cover all bases, and that's what we did, and that's what we kind of had to do, just because of the beast that we created. So that's the best advice that I guess we can give you, is that just do it as much yourself, and try and build it as like from the ground up, and use every internet facet that you have that you can possibly get to. Bandcamp is the best, man. Get yourself an email list off of Bandcamp.
And put your songs on Triple J Unearthed. That helped with us massively.
That is the reason we have
Just
a career.
little bit. Just massively, but a little bit. Were there any other questions people had? Yeah.
Collaboration work, is that something you want to explore, like other than with each other, or do you kind of want to write it out, like Bonnie and Clyde style?
Cool. Question for people at home.
Clyde and Clyde style.
For the people at home, question was about collaboration, and whether Remi and Jay are keen on doing collaborations outside of themselves.
Absolutely. I've done a lot of stuff with other rap dudes. I've done a couple
singers.
tracks with you. I did an album with Em for Jones last year. I've done an album with Hal Latukefu, a rapper from Coolism, and one-off beats for a lot of people over the last 4 years. But the majority of my stuff is with Rem for now, but I'm always open to, I especially like when someone is totally different to what Rem does, so I can pull out the weirdest sort of beats or something that won't work for a Remi album, and I'll go, I've done this one, man. Do you like this? That sort of vibe. So yeah, I like collaborating if someone's on the same wavelength.
Exactly the same. You know, I think it's therapeutic to go away and do other stuff, other music away from the stuff that you do. You know, because you gotta test yourself. You gotta grow. You gotta do all those things. And I'm not going anywhere with this project. Like, you know, for us, not as in we're not going anywhere. As is, I'm very happy to be doing what we're doing, and I really enjoy it. I wouldn't change it for the world. But also, you know, collaboration is fun, man. Doing something different. I love rapping with other rappers. Anything I've done with them, you know, has been sick. Got an upcoming collaboration EP that will probably drop later this year that I don't want to say too much on. But, you know, these things, it's essential for growth. You gotta learn. You get in the studio with someone else, you're gonna learn something different. That's just how it is.
Any other questions? Yeah, I think we're running a bit out of time as well, so maybe 2 Twitter questions and that's 3. Yeah, cool. All right.
The first question is, what issues can we expect to be tackled when we hear new music?
So the question for the people playing at home, what issues can we expect to be tackled on the next record?
That's hard because I know what they are, a few of them, but I also don't want to give them away because there might be some hating ass rappers out there ready to steal my shit.
That guy there.
Yeah. Everyone's gonna come out. You're gonna have this whole new record plan. I'm like, where did you get that, man? But yeah, I think it's gonna be. I guess the best answer I can give you without giving too much away is that I love social commentary. That's one of my favorite things, and whether that's to do with, you know, race, as I've tackled, but I don't think it's done. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of issues.
It'll never be done.
It will never be done, unfortunately. But that, I think it's, you know, I guess the best thing I've learned for this album that I can tell you about Topics is that my favorite rapper at the moment is Jay Electronica. And it's because he always puts issues into his song, whether he's tackling them or not, or he's just putting them in there so you don't forget they are there. And that's the kind of writing that I want to experiment with on this next record, I think is the best way. So that is my answer to you, Twitter.
Bring on the next Twitter question.
What's the best fan interaction you guys have had and where?
So the question, what's the best
Easy, man.
best fan interaction you've ever had and where?
Lance Rock, man. DJ Lance Rock. You guys know Yo Gabba Gabba? You know Yo Gabba Gabba, right?
Yeah.
DJ Lance Rock was at our Sydney show last year because of Emperor Jones right there.
Sitting behind him on the plane, and I go, he wasn't in his orange uniform. I go, bro, that's Lance Rock.
We're like geeking out. We love Lance
I
Rock.
got little
man.
nieces and they watch that, so I knew it was him. I go, Emperor, you've got to talk to him on the flight and try and see what he's doing and get him to the gig. Emperor's a very charming man. Lo and behold, he came to the gig.
Came to the gig. He was not going to stick around because he had shows the next morning to thousands of children. 3/4 of the way through our set, DJ Lance Rock is pushing through human beings. Go! Going nuts. We're freaking out. We got photos on Instagram. I'm not lying to you. DJ Lance Rock was at our gig, man. And so that was, no offense to any of our fans, man, but when you are on Yo Gabba Gabba, you will be my number one fan interaction as well. But that is definitely up there.
And he's a hip hop head. There was about 8 rappers and myself standing around him after the show, and he starts talking about Biz Markie,
DJ Quick,
Bone
Thugs. Like,
he knows his stuff, that guy, telling us stories, and he just wanted to hang. And his personal minder was like, Lance, we have to go now. You've got to get up in 5 hours.
Lance ran back in. Lance ran back in and he was like, yo, he's trying to make me leave, man. He's trying to make me leave.
And then what do you do?
No, we can't tell that. He said we can't tell that. He told us to put our cameras away.
All right, we
All
got
right, DJ Lance Rock, we love you, man. We fucking love you, man. Fucking love DJ Lance.
We got one more from Twitter.
One more. Okay, this is a fun one. When will Sensible J drop a verse?
Ooh.
He's
So the
already
question
dropped 4
was-
bars, man. He dropped 4 bars. If you guys listen to Livin', Jay's vocal is actually the vocal that comes in the first verse after 8 bars. And I am trying my hardest, Twitter, to make Sensible J rap. I promise you that. Jay is a player hater of his own voice, but we'll get there. It's a
You've heard
sick
how
voice.
mumbly and how dulcet this voice is.
Yeah,
You
man,
don't want to
that's
hear that.
soothing, man. You like the
Turn it into a personality.
you like the rap Barry White, man. Man, it's happening.
Thank you, baby.
See? All the women just went. That's where we're at.
We'll end it on one last question, which I
Okay.
think is the it's got to be asked because I think it's a valuable one to ask. Any tips or words of advice for people who are just starting out with songwriting?
Have fun. It's wanky, but it's serious. If it stresses you out, or just do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because you want to be famous or in tabloids or something. Unless you really, 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 really want that, go ahead. But just do it and have fun with it.
And listen to all your favorite shit because that's the best lessons that you'll get. That's how we make our music. That's how like even you were talking about Pharrell before. Darius told me stories about how Questlove gets calls from this dude at like 3 a.m. discussing some obscure jazz record that Questo may or may not have heard. You know, this is coming from a dude with millions and millions of dollars, and like, you know, but this is way down the track. So it's about the love and learning from that love. So
Cool. Thank you both for sharing. We appreciate the thoughts, the ideas, and the experiences. Could everyone put their hands together for Remi and Sets Project?
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you for interviewing us, bro.
My
Yeah,
pleasure,
thank you,
It was an
man.
honor.
It was fun.
Can we come back and interview Elle? That would be sick. That would be so awesome if we can do that. Yeah.
I'll do the
I don't know
soundtrack
if
for
the
it.
people are ready for that one, man.
Yeah.